You're listening to the Trade Show Insights Podcast, Season 15, Episode 12. I'm your host and exhibit marketing strategist, Marlis Arnold, bringing you tools to improve your exhibit results. On today's episode, brought to you by the Exhibit Marketers Cafe, we have a rebroadcast of our virtual lunch with guest expert Ruth Stevens talking about marketing strategies when we can't be face-to-face. We are going to bring on our special guest for today. I am so excited because Ruth Stevens has been a friend of mine for many years. I think she'll have to correct me, but I think we might have met at TS2 many years ago, back when that was still holding. But Ruth has held senior marketing positions at Ziff Davis, Time Warner, IBM, among others. She teaches graduate students at NYU and Columbia Business School. She's the author of numerous business books, including this one that I actually have an autographed copy. And she also was named by Crain's B2B magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in business marketing. So welcome, Ruth. We're so glad to have you on the virtual lunch today.
Thank you so much, Marlis. I don't remember exactly when we met, but I sure appreciated the input that you gave me that really helped my book develop content. And I remember quoting you in the book here and there. So yes. I sure appreciate not only your friendship, but also your support and your professional help.
Well, thank you. Well, and it was fun because I think we were both working on our books at the same time.
Right.
So, because mine came out in 2002 and yours came out in 2005. And so I think that we were kind of like, I was wrapping up mine about the time you were starting yours. So anyway, it's just great. That's what I love about this industry is all the friendships and the connections and the people that I've met over the years. So anyway, well, one of the reasons I invited you on, besides being such a great friend, is that you actually recently wrote an article, which Alan is going to put that link up. Although don't go read it right now. Wait until after the interview. But it was 10 things that you can do to market when we can't be face-to-face. And so that's where our theme for today came from. So let's talk about a couple of those. We won't have time, obviously, for all 10, but I loved how you talked about getting to know the person behind the client or behind the business that you work with. So let's start there and tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, thank you. That is such an important point now that our customers are all working from home, or most of them. And so we can reach them through the business record that we already have, their business email, their business phone number. Although, wait a minute, they're not at their desks. Business phone number is probably not going to work. But it's possible today to connect your business customer record with that individual's consumer counterpart record. You won't get 100% match rate. In fact, you'll probably not even get 50%, but it's easier today to understand the personal side of your business buyers and prospects. So that's a technique that I recommend that some B2B marketers hadn't really thought of before, but this is the time to do it.
Well, and tell us a little bit more about, I know we can't go into depth, but how does that work? I mean, what's the process for doing that?
Thanks. Yeah, you actually send your house file or your customer records to a trusted data vendor who can then match the name and address of your business customer to that person's personal information and send the personal record back to you for a small fee.
Okay. So, and then that, and I know we have Marco is from Italy, so we've got that European element in there. Is this GDPR approved, or so this would be US only?
This would be
Okay, that's what I
probably
thought.
US only, right?
Okay. And it may not even count California since they have that new privacy law as well. I don't know how all that works. Rama probably, being from San Diego, probably has a better idea of what's allowed out there.
But another thing to
But
keep in mind is you can also consider looking at the LinkedIn record of your
yes.
business prospect, because many business people use their personal emails in their LinkedIn contact listing versus their company email. So that's another way to grab this information up,
Well, that's
or
true.
part of it.
And probably that's what most people do because as a lot of people move around a lot, it's probably easier that they just use their personal LinkedIn so it stays consistent. So that's a good point. So then once we've got that connection point and we can reach out to people in this situation, you talked also in the article about creating your own virtual events in addition to, obviously tapping into whatever, conferences are going virtual. How do you go about doing your own virtual event?
Well, there are a couple of ways to think about it. And I have been noticing a trend for 10, 20 years now of companies running proprietary events. Used to
Hmm.
be called mostly client conferences.
Yes.
And now, especially in the tech world,
Hmm.
this is migrated into actually open event, or they're becoming open event organizers. Some of the more famous ones are the Dreamforce event
Yes.
from Salesforce, and Marketo has an excellent marketing event every year, Serious Decisions, and so forth. But on a smaller scale, even a client conference can be done virtually. And I I argue that you get the same benefits. The cost is going to be lower because you're not, renting rooms, and you can still connect with customers and even prospects in the virtual space. So I think we shouldn't neglect that as part of our marketing mix.
Well, and that's some of the virtual events that I have attended this summer have been the spring and summer have been put on by a B2B company as well. In fact, when I did the virtual event Trailblazer Summit, PersoniFest was one of the events that I featured, and that was Personify's individual client in-house
Very
conference.
good.
So yeah, so that definitely is something that can be done, and I think that it can be done very well because like you said, it's a very highly targeted audience, and the audience is very much interested in participating. And it's a lot easier, I think, than trying to market to just a general population.
Exactly. So it's leveraging that customer relationship that you already have. But the other idea that I'm seeing emerge in the pandemic that I really like is an invitation only smaller group meeting that might be positioned as a peer event, where
Mm.
you limit it to maybe 5, 6, 7 people so they can have a really deep discussion, like a Zoom
Ah.
breakout room in effect, and have it be about a theme, presumably a theme that it relates to your business value proposition,
Mm-hmm.
but is intended to help them address a burning pain point or current customer problem. And business people love interacting with their peers, sharing ideas. And if you can facilitate that by identifying peers that they either know or maybe even don't know, they're often willing to attend. And
Mm-hmm.
with only a handful of attendees, you can really have a rich and deep discussion, moderated by you,
Right.
and not salesy, but of course you want to have a salesperson on hand, or maybe in the room, or maybe as the moderator. And it costs next to nothing. It's pretty easy through digital media to
Mm-hmm.
to uh, set up. And I'm a big fan of this as both a current customer and prospecting tool.
Well, and I love it because it's like a customer mastermind where it's like a VIP invite, first of all. And so they get to come in, and for some that might actually, the opportunity to meet some of these other clients might be incentive enough for them to want to get involved, and then to feel like they've got, that not one-on-one, but almost one-on-one attention, and they can actually address some burning issues, like you said. I think that's a great idea. And so for companies, especially right now, who maybe you're not doing as much, uh, you know, since we're in this business, a lot of us are not as busy as we would like to be. So, that's definitely something you would have the time to pull together and bring in some of these high level clients and prospects. So I think that's a real winner idea. And kind of tagging on to that, you also talked about building a community. And I mean, that's ultimately what we've been doing for the last almost 6 months now with virtual lunch, is building this community where we all get together every Tuesday. But tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing with that.
Yeah, this is another B2B marketing trend. It's also popular in consumer marketing. And the concept here is that uh, you organize a place where people who are interested in a certain topic can gather, and you either curate or just let the conversation flow, and you stay fairly discreet. A great example is how Adobe, now one of the great marketing tech companies around, ha- is the sponsor of CMO.com. I don't know how
Mm,
much they paid to get that URL, but they're managing a website where CMOs are presumably hanging out and sharing ideas. They
huh.
populate it with useful information. On the consumer side, you can see Kraft with
Hmm.
recipe sites, and Sephora has beauty talk sites and so forth. But in B2B, one of the early pioneers in this space was Michael Brenner, who was a marketing VP at SAP.
Mm.
And he's actually written a really good book on how he did it and what he learned in setting up their, I think it was called Marketing Innovation or something like that as the URL. But it was designed to attract a lot of search traffic on basic marketing 101 questions that allowed him to attract early stage marketers who SAP was not serving yet and wanted to have in their funnel. So
Hmm. So it sounds like then the examples that you're sharing are more, they've actually built their own completely separate website as the, not even necessarily a community, but more like a magnet to start drawing people in. So what about, have you been seeing as far as companies creating LinkedIn communities or groups and things to kind of build the community that way, or?
great question. I don't know about you, Marlis, and I would hate any of my friends at LinkedIn to hear me say this, but I think LinkedIn has failed in the group environment. The groups somehow have turned into boring, just boring places,
Yeah.
regrettably.
Well, a lot of them are pretty inactive.
Yep, you're making my case for me. I think early on they were sort of hijacked by sellers, and so buyers, you know, took off. I advise people when they're setting up their LinkedIn profiles to join groups as a tool for presenting your interests on your profile page, but
Mm.
don't bother really interacting them, and change your settings so that you don't receive email from them.
Well, and within the industry, I know there's a couple of groups that are semi-active, but yeah, a lot of the trade show industry groups that I'm in, I never see any posts, or it'll be like somebody will post, and I know I've done this too. It's like if you're in 4 different industry groups, you post something and you post it in all 4, and then it comes through and you keep seeing it over and over. But honestly, I mean, I'm in a lot of, not necessarily B2B, but more like marketing groups or podcaster groups or things like that on Facebook, and or specific software that I use,
They're
and so
much more active,
they're
right?
much more active.
Isn't
They're
that
they're very,
interesting?
yeah, it's like, even though Facebook is not the B2B platform, when it comes to things like that, the interactions, Facebook seems to have it all over LinkedIn. And I'm like you, I haven't really figured out where they failed, but unless we're just all in too many different things as it is, and LinkedIn was the first to go, I don't know.
I don't
Well,
know
if
either.
anybody has questions for Ruth, please go ahead and put those in the comments and we will have her answer for you. But go ahead and share with us, Ruth, how people can get a hold of you and, maybe what you're working on next, other than I know you're getting ready to start teaching another class this fall, but what else are you working on? What's your interest right now?
Thank you. I can be reached at ruthstevens.com, and my email, of course, is ruth@ruthstevens.com. But I would also welcome people to link in with me. I found, having just trashed LinkedIn groups, I find LinkedIn as a business tool incredibly valuable.
Yes.
It's been a huge resource for me as just an ordinary business person, because it allows me to find people that I would never have been able to even know they existed before. So I sure appreciate that. In terms of my business, I'm actually, I think you and I were talking about this earlier, Marlis. I'm swamped during COVID. I don't have time to binge watch the way I might have hoped. And part of it is getting ready for my marketing class to MBAs at Stern starting, oh my goodness, day after tomorrow.
Mm.
But but also I have a lot of client work, and I continue to write a monthly blog article at Biznology that I really enjoy. There's nothing like a deadline, right, Marlis, to get you to
Yes.
crank out that copy. So I appreciate that they give me a due date every month and I have to comply.
Well, and this is the link again to the article that we've been basing all of this on. But yes, you do have lots of other articles on Biznology. I know I've read a lot of your different posts up there. So,
Thank you.
Alan, you want to go ahead? I think we've also got the Ruth Stevens link we can put up as well. So I'm not seeing any other questions from the audience, but as you all know now, you can get a hold of her. And as far as doing the LinkedIn, I will share a quick tip as far as LinkedIn, which a friend of mine shared with me, is make a QR code for your LinkedIn profile that sends people straight there. And then actually I put that up now on my slides for my presentations. And so, so that way everybody's got their phone. So when they're
what a great idea.
so they just, it's like, right, okay, away. scan, and it takes them straight to the profile. And so like I had like 30 to 40 people during the session I was teaching that immediately went over and connected with me on LinkedIn. So
brilliant.
There's a quick and easy tip for the day.
Love it.
So, well, Ruth, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time, especially when you're getting ready to head back to class in a couple of days. I know that presents a whole new layer of challenges this year, but you always have such great things to share. And I know people can gain so much from reading the articles that you post and following you online. So thank you so much.
Really enjoyed it, Marlis. Thank you for including me.
You can find all the links mentioned during this interview in this episode's show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. And if you'd like to join us for an upcoming weekly virtual lunch, you'll find information on that at exhibitmarketerscafe.com/lunch. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, you can subscribe to the podcast and automatically receive future episodes on your chosen device. Simply search for Trade Show Insights in Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or virtually anywhere else that podcasts are found, and then click the subscribe button. Trade Show Insights is protected by the Creative Commons copyright license. You may feel free to share this recording with colleagues or embed it on your own blog as long as it's shared in its entirety and is not used for commercial purposes. To learn more, please see the link in the sidebar of the show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. Well, that's it for this episode of Trade Show Insights. Be sure to check out our show notes and archives at tradeshowinsights.com. You can also connect with me using the social media links or contact page on the site. I'm Marlis Arnold. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time for more tools to improve your exhibit results.